All right, so fuck yes, welcome back to the Hyper Music Host. Always, wow, it was horrible. John is here.
What the?
And Ryan.
Yeah, that was summed up 2016.
Yeah, pretty much. I was going to do a second take, and then I figured, fuck it. Why not?
That's
Chewy cannot be here today because she is at work, and she wants to follow the age-old tradition of, is it a best-of episode? I'm not going to be there. And she always has a legitimate excuse, but I find something fishy about this. How she's just never here for these.
She's probably just upstairs.
I have an upstairs?
I guess.
Why is she hanging out with my neighbors?
Do you have stairs in your house?
No. It's a tricky thing she pulled off. So if you did not catch it by downloading the episode or whatever, today is our best of 2016 episode. And much like last year, which was a lot of fun, we've brought on, and by brought on, I mean we had them record things for us, a lot of our friends' podcasts, and they will interject here every now and then, and we'll hear what they have to say about things. And then we'll kind of give our own little 2 cents about stuff. And then Chewy actually filled out a list this year, so I will read her opinion along with ours because she cannot be here to do it herself. And I would do a Where Have You Been Doing, but this episode's already going to run long because that's the way that it goes when you do best of stuff. So I think the best place to start with this is just to roll right into it, and I think we should do video games.
Video games.
Hooray for video games.
Bleep, bloop, bloop.
The podcast or friend that recorded for us is, Ryan, do you want to introduce him?
Yeah, this is Jeff Ott coming in. He was on our episode last year, same guy, and he is going to start blogging himself. So you can watch out for articles. I doubt his location will be set by the time we release, but we'll share it, on our Facebook page later, and hopefully he'll be writing some articles for us.
That should be a lot of fun.
Hint, hint.
Here we go. I hope I'm clicking the right one.
Hi, this is Jeff here, back just like last year. I'm going to talk about some video games in the last year. This time I come to you with actual credentials, as I am a developer on Minecraft Pocket Edition and Windows 10 Edition now. So plug. I get one of those, right? At any rate, let's talk about some video games. And I'm not going to talk about the AAAs again. If you want that, there's Doom, Final Fantasy, Overwatch, etc. But what I want to talk about is indie games, because I find it extremely more interesting. So the first game is Stardew Valley, which is a Harvest Moon clone, and this single man, Eric Barone, decided that he was unhappy with the successors to the Harvest Moon series from the original SNES version, which pretty much everyone was, and he thought he could do it better, and he did. It is a spectacular game. It's got more depth than the original Harvest Moon, and just gorgeous art, and more impressively, it was designed, programmed, composed, and the art was done by this one single straight-out-of-college guy, and it was built on the XNA framework, which is pretty cool, which is now pretty much a dead game development framework, but its successor now, essentially Unity, is what the next couple games are going to be on. So the next game is called Super Hot. If you're not familiar, it's a bullet time game, so time only moves when you move. So you see these very stylized red figures hold up a gun as you're moving towards them, and when they shoot the bullet, you see the bullet, and you can kind of sidestep to the right because the bullet's only moving towards you when you're moving. So it creates this really interesting puzzle dynamic where you can pistol whip people and you have to get around, and it is essentially a first-person puzzle game in this bullet time concept. But more importantly, they also came out with Super Hot VR, which is for Oculus Rift, and the touch controller is soon to be out for a HTC Vive, hopefully. They say it will be. I have not spent too much time with it. I did play a little bit, but they actually redid the entire game. They didn't just port the regular mouse and keyboard puzzles. They actually changed the game because you can do things like just tilt your head a couple of inches to dodge a bullet. You no longer have to completely sidestep. And one of my friends, his review was that it changed his life. So obviously that's got to be high up there. Up next, that one was built on Unity. Up next is Firewatch, also built on Unity. It was designed and directed by Jake Rodkin and Sean Veneman. These were the creative leads of The Walking Dead, the TV series, I'm pretty sure. Um, and wow, did they make an amazing video game. This just gorgeous environment. The concept is that you're taking a break to become a recluse and join a fire watch where there's nobody else around, and you have to hike through the forest to find the people with fires and things. But most amazingly, like the conversation choices matter, and they really get you attached to the characters. Like the intro of the game, like we can spoil things, right? Is just you hike through the woods for 2 seconds and then some dialogue shows up. No one's even talking. It's just text, and it tells a story about how you met your wife, and you get to pick what pickup line you used, and then you and her get a dog. You get to pick your dog, and then oh shit, she gets early onset dementia, and you become an alcoholic, and her family takes her away. And like all this, like in the first 5 minutes of just reading text, I'm already emotionally connected. Probably because I'm getting to choose that, like, oh, I'm getting a German Shepherd, not a Beagle. But it's also not the next thing that changes when you make a decision. It's later on in the game a character will reference. There's two characters. They can only talk by walkie-talkie because they're these recluse. But they'll be like, oh yeah, I had a German Shepherd. No, I met my wife at a bar, and this is what I said to her. It's just an amazing game. The ending's a little but it's great. I highly recommend it. Up next is Hyper Light Drifter. This was largely a Zelda 1 clone, but with some more modern combat things. It is a 2D top-down, just like Zelda. Pixel art, and just the most amazing pixel art I've probably ever seen in my life. The intro to it has just like these melting mech flesh things. And the story, there's no written text, there's no dialogue. The story is all told through pictures, so it's kind of like a make your own way of what you can make of the story. But it has that satisfaction with the difficulty and an open world where you can choose what's your first dungeon and how you get your upgrades. That was designed by a person named Alex Preston, and it was made in Game Maker Studio, which is just hilarious to me. It's a 17-year-old drag and drop like RPG Maker style, but more complicated. But engine that was written on Delphi, which is as far as I'm concerned, a defunct language. So that's impressive in and of itself. But it's really really solid, difficult dungeon crawler. Not last, but second to last. Let me start by saying I hate this game. Some friends of mine told me that I need to put it on, and it's kind of weird that I dislike it because I am really a big fan of player griefing as a game mechanic, like making people feel bad about themselves. But that's specifically why I don't like this game. It's called Overcooked. It's a multiplayer game. I couldn't find what platform it was built on, but I assume it's most likely Unity. And it was made by Team 17, which are the same people who made Worms and Lemmings. But the premise is you have 4 players, and the level will be like split into 2 sections, and 2 players have the pan, and the other 2 players have the ingredients. And then there are orders appear. So you have to be like, oh, somebody get me the meat. I need to cook the meat. And then you have to compose a burger. And then the pickup window isn't in your side, so you have to hand it off to somebody else. And you've got these 4 people just yelling at each other. It just creates this chaos. And for that, it's great. And it's more fun to watch people yell at each other. But if you want a good couch party game, I would check out Overcooked. So last on my list is by Jonathan Blow. He was the single developer. I think he had help on the art and some other things on Braid, which, if you're not familiar, was a fantastic puzzle game, platformer puzzle game that used time as a mechanic. And so he spent all his money making Braid. It paid out in dividends. Just giant success. One of the first really big indie games. He got interviewed on NPR for that game, and that was just weird to me at the time. So anyway, he took all that money and sunk it into a new game spent all of his money, built an entirely custom engine, which is just crazy and nonsense, and he made The Witness, which is a puzzle game where you solve mazes. Sounds great, huh? So I bought it on day one. I knew the designer and the developer of it, and I was a little put off by the $40 price tag. It's probably a little lower now, but I was determined. I bought it, and I was immediately pissed off that I spent $40 on a maze solving game. But I kept on, and about an hour, 2 hours in, I was again pissed off that I could not solve these mazes. This is just an artfully put together game. The art design is amazing. The environments are gorgeous. The way the difficulty progresses is done just beautifully. There's no tutorials or anything. When they want to introduce a new maze mechanic, they give you an easy version of that mechanic, and they slowly ramp up until the last mazes in the game are a combination of all these mechanics. One of the best things to do is watch other people try and figure out the mechanics when you already know them. That's really enjoyable. But the thing's got like 650 mazes. By the time you're that deep into it, you're seeing mazes everywhere. Even in the game, there are actually mazes in the cloud that you didn't know. Like all the other ones were in these like squares. There's a maze here. Obviously, you press A to start the puzzle, but then eventually you start to notice that the way the reflection in the sand here is actually a maze if I look at it from this perspective. And so there's like another as part of the 600 puzzles, like 100 of them are just things that you find out in the world if you've got an eye for it. And then the last puzzle, the hardest puzzle, so to speak, is a timed event where the puzzles are randomized every time, and there's just jaunting music playing that is your timer, and it just creates this anxiety, like you have to pause it or mute it, or else you're just gonna hate yourself while you're doing it. And I loved that a puzzle game could make me just feel nervous and clammy from just trying to solve some mazes. The Witness is just a fantastic game. I think it is the best game of 2015 or 2016. Yeah, and that's about it for me. Somebody may notice, maybe not, that I didn't say Undertale. I was going to, but it turns out Undertale came out in 2015, so that's why I left it out. But you should check out Undertale. It's also a great game. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Trial 2 on getting out of that. Yeah, that's some really interesting stuff. He's really good at listing games that I have not played yet or have not thought about playing sometimes.
Yeah, that's why he's my guy.
Yeah, and he even mentioned some that I was like, I've played, so sweet.
Yeah, he hit none that I've played, and he hit none that are on my list. We kept the list much shorter this year. Last year, I think we had a ton of categories. This year we just kept it down to 4, which is just best. So let's go around. So we'll start with best mobile game. If this isn't unanimous, I'm going to be surprised.
Absolutely, Pokemon Go.
Yeah, Pokemon Go.
I actually surprised it was unanimous because it's not that great
Well, John
of a
hasn't
game.
said yet. It looks like he's about to throw a wrench in the chain.
Yeah, good. For me, it was Super Mario Run, actually.
Good. Because Pokemon Go was a great idea and then was kind of poorly executed and ran out of steam really fast.
See, I don't think it was poorly executed at all. I think it was exactly what it set out to be, and people just were so excited about it, they wanted it to be something more that it just never said it was going to be.
No, it didn't work great. I'm going to be honest with you. It really
it had a lot of problems
bugs
on the GPS side, trying to locate things. I played it pretty early on with friends, and we had a hell of a time trying to find things with a little finder, and then they got it.
Yeah, but I can go back to episodes of our very podcast where you say that you did that, and it was the time of your life, and you loved it.
I still had a blast.
Yeah.
I still had a blast. We still had a blast despite the problems. There was a Snorlax somewhere in North Hollywood, and we couldn't find him for all we tried.
That's really frustrating.
Yeah, that was frustrating. But like, we all, with a bunch of people that we didn't know, just stood under a light at night, just like looking at our phones like a bunch of drug dealers. That was fun.
Yeah.
So it was still fun, but I think for me, I just liked the mechanic of Super Mario Run. That it was such a stripped down version of Mario that required a lot of skill. Like you could still play it and it was fine, just the one button, you jump, get to the end. But there was also coins you had to collect that required you to master the mechanic. And I think as far as just a complete game experience for me, Super Mario Run just eked out above Pokemon Go. Otherwise, it would have been Pokemon Go.
Best PC game.
Overwatch.
Overwatch.
Stardew Valley.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I didn't play that, so
I didn't.
Overwatch is it,
I
but-
played a demo of Overwatch and wasn't even on a PC. But it's like, well, I know if I had a PC, this would be the game I'd be buying.
Yeah.
This too was a tough one between Overwatch and Stardew Valley because they both hit all the buttons for me.
Stardew Valley for me just looks like a snore fest, and I don't mean that negatively. It looks like if that's what you're into, it looks like a blast. It's just never going to be something I want to play. Best console game.
This is the same as my best video game of the year, which is it's an older game, but it is the game that I probably spent the most time on in 2016, Skyrim Special Edition.
Fair enough. That's a solid choice. I'm going Dark Souls 3 because pretty much the same reason. It's part of the reason why I bought PlayStation over Xbox was when they did Bloodborne, and it's still the best place to play Dark Souls games.
Cool.
And yeah, PlayStation. I agree, 100%.
Yep.
I tried playing Dark Souls 1 on Xbox and I hated it.
Nope, it's not.
Couldn't
the
do
same. It's better on PlayStation.
It's the bumpers. There's different bumper mechanic. For me, console was Overwatch.
Okay. And then best video game overall, yours is
Yep,
still
Skyrim.
Still Skyrim. Mine's still Dark Souls 3.
Yep.
And mine is Stardew Valley.
There you
Okay,
go.
yeah.
It is the most fun I've had and most relaxation I've had playing a game, and that's no stressing.
I think that's part of why I'm never gonna play it.
Yeah.
I'm not into playing a game for relaxation. I just want to go have fun.
You want to get angry at it.
Yeah, that's kind of my jam.
If you're not going to throw
As long as I don't get too angry at it, you got to
Right.
strike that chord. Okay, so let's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, cool. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. So we're moving on to comics. Today's comics are coming to us from a friend of the show, Coy Jandreau, and he was very kind to do this on a week when he had basically no time from what he emailed me. You might notice a bit of a theme with his, but I'm not going to spoil that because he'll say it better than I will.
Hey, how we doing, folks? This is Coy Jandreau of Marvel Movie News and occasional Screen Junkie. I wanted to send over my favorite comics of the year. We're doing the best of 2016 goodness, so I wanted to talk The Glory. That was 2016's comic run. There was a lot of good stuff. I actually read the most comics across the board in 2016 of any year. I'm a Marvel guy, so my choices are, I'm going to stick to Marvel here. There's a lot of good Marvel. There's enough to easily fill a best of list, but I gotta say, they really hit it out of the park this year. I wasn't as big on Civil War. That was their big major event, but their individual issues and their ongoings were incredible. The best book, I think, in the last 10 years, I would say comfortably 10 years, is the current run of Spider-Man Deadpool. It is written by the original writer of Deadpool, or one of the original writers, I should say, Joe Kelly. He reinterpreted Deadpool to the man we know today, and it is art by the beautiful McGinnis, and it is far and away the funniest either Spider-Man or Deadpool have been in a while. Now, Gary Dugan's doing an incredible run on Deadpool, and I'll get to that in a bit, but this run is the best of both of them, so it gets the top spot. You can read the book and know each different voice is separate, which is very hard to do with these two characters. The art is consistently stunning, and it's the book I look forward to every single month, and I haven't enjoyed a book as much since, I'd say, the early Bendis Ultimate Spider-Man run. Spidey Deadpool is incredible, and the end of the first arc ends in a beautiful Dirty Dancing homage, and you're not prepared for how good this book is. Now, moving on past that, Brian Michael Bendis, my current favorite writer, killed Iron Man this year with an incredible run of two titles. One, Iron Man, and also Invincible Iron Man, which is this incredible James Bond take on the character as told through flashbacks with incredible art, a very different take on the character, a lot of fun. And speaking of James Bond books, the Black Widow book this year did an incredible job, also with flashbacks of telling her story. So check out any of those books if you love the noir, love the espionage. Good stuff. Now that's Invincible Iron Man and Black Widow for Bond, regular Iron Man if you're feeling the Downey Jr. flavor, and hey, who doesn't? It's Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, and that's how Bendis writes him. Now, the strangest book of the year, and the most haunting and powerful, I'd have to say, was the 12-issue Vision miniseries. Now, Vision's not a character that's gotten a lot of love in the past, and this 12-issue run really fleshes, pun intended, the android out. It is a very strange book, and it's the one you think about all week. It's something great. Now, my most surprising book of the year has got to go to Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman is not a character that's been given a lot of love or a lot of talent thrown her way. She is a great character that really, put in perspective, Jessica Jones was a Brian Michael Bendis creation because they didn't trust him yet with Jessica Drew, and Jessica Drew then kind of faded into obscurity over time, and now she's back. Now, this Spider-Woman just had a baby, and it's this beautiful story of Spider-Woman basically being a mom and a superhero at the same time, and you feel the love for her child, and it's a really good book. It's just a great book about being a strong woman and really handling your own, and she's a superhero, and she's got her stuff, like, always in a mess, but always together. Check out Spider-Woman. I never thought I'd say that, but it's a really, really good title. Great stuff. Now, All New Wolverine is another tricky book where you've got a girl replacing Wolverine. You've got a new Wolverine. That's Wolverine. So the standard's set high. The bar is really high, and X-23 is an amazing character, but when done wrong, feels like pandering. Feels like, oh, it's Wolverine, but she's a girl. No. This book is Wolverine, and it's really worth checking out. It's got jokes, it's got some interesting clone stuff, it's got some really cool art, it's got some great action, and you really learn to care about X-23, and you don't miss Logan as much as you think you will, and she's a great Wolverine. My favorite interpretation of a new character would have to be the totally awesome Hulk. I didn't think I'd like Amadeus Cho as Hulk, but I do. It's a fun read. It's real silly at times. I'm a Deadpool guy. I am a Spider-Man guy. The current run of Deadpool, the last 4 years of Deadpool have been some of the best Deadpool's ever been. This run is a great place to jump on. A lot of people are going to be discovering the character through the movie. Deadpool #1 this year, all the way up to where we are now. It's a great place to start. It's a really fun book. The character's actually funny. You'll laugh out loud reading the comic. There's some great Sabretooth stuff. There's some ridiculous flashbacks. It's just killing it, and it's always fun. Also, for jumping on points, 2 other books that you will want to jump on if you're not a big comic guy. Doctor Strange is a character that even I've had trouble getting into. I'm in the situation where I don't know where to start. The Doctor Strange right now is where to start. It's beautiful art from Bichello, one of my favorite artists. It's got some great stuff written by Jason Aaron. It is a brilliant book. It's a great place to learn the weirdness of Doctor Strange and really invest. And also Daredevil. The art is by Garney, I believe, and it's stunning. It's dark, it's noir, you feel like you're in Hell's Kitchen. Charles Soule's writing the hell out of this book, and it's introducing a ton of new villains, and that's really hard to do. They're all great. I dig it. And, I gotta wrap. There's so many books. Cap Sam Wilson is incredible. It's basically a great political commentary on where we are as a country, so it's very important. And also another commentary on where we are as a country is the miniseries Loki, which was only, I believe, a 5-issue run. Check out Loki. And, okay, to wrap it up, Champions. Just started. It's the most fun I've enjoyed an Avengers book. It's not even an Avengers book, but check out Champions. And then Jessica Jones shows a lot of promise. If you're a kid, check out Spidey, Spidey. Spidey is the best kids Spider-Man book I've seen in a long, long time. Old Man Logan had some of the best art of the year. Gwenpool won my How Is This Book So Good award. And if you want to read a miniseries and love the X-Men, Worst X-Men Ever is so much fun. And as always, the Miles Morales Spider-Man title is incredible. This was a long rant about many comics. I probably covered about 20 when I meant to do 10, but this year was great for books. So if you like comedy, Spidey Deadpool. If you like Spider-Man, Miles Morales' Spider-Man. If you like X-Men, check out Worst X-Men Ever. If you like Wolverine, All New Wolverine and Old Man Logan, so good. If you like comics, you've got a great, great time ahead of you. There's a lot of great stuff, and I hope this helped. And let's look at 2016's books, and hopefully 2017's are just as good. All right, have a great one, guys.
Thank you very much, Coy, for that. That was a lot of fun.
I actually got excited about Marvel just listening to him.
Yeah, he's got a lot of passion for Marvel, more so than I have for sure. Not that Marvel's bad, I just don't really read Marvel that much.
They should give him a show. He's really good.
Yeah, like his whole Marvel movie news show.
That would be a perfect show for him.
Yeah, he'd be a really good fit on that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move into our list for comics, and by our list, I mean basically just me and Ryan, because John and Chewy did not read as much.
Oh, yeah.
John, do you have anything on your list? I know Chewy has a couple things.
The only thing I read comic-wise in 2016 was Rebirth that you gave me.
Perfect.
And that would be my top, because it's the only one.
It's not a bad choice.
It's actually not a bad choice.
And I really like how it ended, so.
It was awesome.
No.
And supposedly doing a lot with that this year, but we'll see.
Supposedly.
Okay, so we'll start at the bottom of our list and we'll move our way up.
Okay.
Best one shot of the year, I go DC Rebirth by Jeff
DC
Johns.
Rebirth.
Yeah, it's so fucking
How about
good.
you, John?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, good choice.
Yeah, and from Chewy's, she didn't fill this one out, but I typed it in for her. DC Rebirth.
Unanimous. We got this.
Unanimous. I was a big fan of DC Rebirth over here. Okay, so then moving on to best miniseries. Ryan, did you have one for this or no?
Yeah, Batman TMNT.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
That was really good.
I
liked-
loved the way he wrote both Batman and the Ninja Turtles, and he's now writing Detective Comics. So.
Yeah, and he did. It was such a good blend that should not have worked.
I know.
But it still has my favorite line from Michelangelo of all of 2016, and I read every TMT book of all of 2016.
No, not My Little Ponies video game.
No, no, not my Pony Racers.
Pony Racers. Yeah.
It's so good. Chewy did not have one. Did you have one?
No.
No. Okay. So mine, I went for Boom Comics from Brendan Fletcher and Kelly Thompson. Pink Power Rangers.
Oh yeah.
It was a ton of fun. Technically, it will end in 2017. I think it has one more issue left. And if you have ever been a fan of Power Rangers ever in your life, this is the one to pick up. You can skip their main book, which is very good, but it's also very Power Rangers. This one takes place like years after the Power Rangers are over, and she has to get her powers back to save her mom in like some like third world country. And it's like a really cool story of, but I'm grown up. I shouldn't have to be a Power Ranger anymore. But nope, now you have to. And it's just kind of really cool back and forth. And Goldar's there, and he hates her because she always beat him. And they bring in new Power Rangers, and they all have to have these like little pink accents on their costumes, but they're actually really well designed. And I can't speak highly enough for it. It's fantastic. It's both good for adults, and if you have kids, I have friends who their daughters are obsessed with this series, and it's just very, very good. Ongoing series.
I'm gonna be honest. Although I didn't read any of this series that came out in 2016, it's probably Saga, because that is my favorite comic book that I'm currently catching up to current on.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but great things. For some reason, I just haven't been able to dive into it. I know we have like the first issue, and I think we have the first trade here. We have a ton of it, but
We read up to about the first trade, I think, and loved it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
Mine is I'm a DC fanboy through and through. So
What?
best ongoing series has to be Detective Comics because it's been
Yeah.
fucking great this year.
It's been good.
Like a lot of the DC rebirth has been. There's been some that's not so great that I'm not reading. Then there's most of it's all pretty good. Then there's some that's excellent. And Detective Comics has been fantastic the whole way through.
My qualification for this was a book that had to have released an issue in 2015 and 2017. That's how I qualified an ongoing series.
That makes sense. Yeah. And
So I
Detective
didn't-
Comics definitely nails that.
They didn't start in 2015, did
No,
they?
they started back in the 40s.
I thought they weren't running for several years.
No, they were always part of New
okay.
52. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to best new series. I went with Rick Remender's Seven to Eternity.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down too.
Yeah, it's a great book, and if you were lucky enough to jump on right in the beginning, your first issues now sell for $100 if you
Yeah.
have them just bagged and boarded, and if they're in great great condition, maybe even more.
Yeah.
Really?
I saw a 9.8 went for nearly $300 on
Jesus.
eBay, and that's common. It's not like one weird bidding war result.
Yeah, it's
What caused that? Just
It's,
as someone who I never came across this.
A super popular and super good book that didn't have a lot of high hopes, so they made a really short first run. And as far as I know, that first issue was off the shelves of 2 of my 3 comic books. Like by the time the store opened, people had called in hearing buzz about it and added it to their list. But after the store had already put in their orders, so it's kind of one of those things that just got last minute buzz and hype and sold out the day that it came out. And
yeah, the only reason I picked it up was I was on IGN of all places, and they every now and then do like their books to buy this week. And the end of it was like, oh, and Rick Remender is doing this new book called Seven to Eternity. We don't know anything about it, but I can tell you this much: it's Rick Remender. It's probably gonna be fantastic. So pick it up. And I was like, why not?
that may have been part of the bump, just the reviews of like, hey, by the way, Rick Remender's doing this sci-fi book. And like there wasn't a lot of buzz about it 2 months in advance when they ordered their copies. So
Yeah.
they printed a really small first run.
But big thanks to Blast Off Comics
Yeah.
for always having this stuff in stock. Because they read the signs, they picked it up, and I know that's where I got mine. Did we got yours?
It is, yeah. You
Yeah.
recommended it to me, and that was the last place that had a first issue.
Yeah, so good. Okay, so best comic book art. Did you have one for this, John?
I did not.
I'm gonna go with John says DC Comics, DC Rebirth.
I can
Thanks,
agree.
John. I agree.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah.
That was not my list, though. Did you have one, Ryan, that you wanted to go with?
Yeah, I have a couple. There's a couple books that I've heard really good things about the artwork. I love Seven to Eternity, but I wanted to talk about something different.
That's why I didn't put it on mine either.
Yeah, of the things I'm reading, I really am enjoying Jim Chung's Clone Conspiracy. I've always loved his art styles, and for him to be drawing my favorite character, Spider-Man, is just really fun. And his new take on the Jackal's great, and it's just overall good. But First place goes to Robbie Rodriguez for Spider-Gwen. Ongoing, his artwork and his design of her costume is the thing that got me into it to begin with, and it's just like
It's a sweet costume.
it's a little unconventional. His colors bleed out of the lines a lot, and he does a lot of like blending into backgrounds. It's just really, really cool artwork, especially his covers.
I've not read that. I've heard it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Mine, I went for, it's kind of a tie between the two. I went one for my DC books, of course, which is, believe it or not, Detective Comics.
Cool.
Whoa.
For Eber Ferreira and Eddie Barrows. And the main reason why I put that one on my list is because of the way they draw Clayface. And it's just so
Their
awesome.
Clayface was really good.
Yeah.
Clayface is a cool character.
He
I
is.
like him, and I
And-
just don't see him done well enough.
If you want to pick up a good book, I'd recommend Detective Comics. The way what they've done with his character in that book is just, it's a ton of fun. And
Cool.
He's really, really cool, and he's trying to be a good guy and to do the best he can, but he's so used to just punching people in the face, and it's this kind of weird, fun back and forth of. There's one moment, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's one moment in one of the books where he morphs into Batman, and he has to be Batman for a second, and he fails miserably, and it's so funny. He's like, go hide and do the screw it, and he turns into Clayface like, get out of here. It's pretty awesome.
Nice.
The other one I got to go for is Jeff Lemire's art in After Death, the book by Image with written by Scott Snyder, and it's only 3 issues. The third one's supposed to come out, I think, this week.
Yeah.
Fucking phenomenal art series, everything about it. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it.
I got to give a shout out. I know Best Publisher wasn't on our list, and you'd probably give it to DC because they're doing a fantastic job with Rebirth. But
yeah.
Image is really nailing it. They've got at least 5 or 6 like A+ ongoing series right now.
I
I can't say that
dead
about
heat between
DC or Marvel right now.
It'd be a dead heat for DC and Image for me, because Image has some amazing books, but really it would never be DC usually, even though I'm a fanboy, because usually their books are
Yeah.
the ones that are good are very good, and the ones that aren't are like I read them because they're funny.
Right.
This year, no, they've done a great job reestablishing their brand, so to speak.
Yeah.
So best book overall.
My opinion was swayed by Coy, actually.
yeah.
I was going to say it's probably Saga, even though I'm not caught up to 2016.
Right.
But I'm going to say Spider-Man Deadpool. I got to agree with him. It's been really fantastic, and people are getting pretty tired of the current writer on The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He's been at it for like 10 years now or something, too
Is that
long.
Slott?
Yeah,
Yeah.
6 years maybe, realistically. But
10, 6.
The better part of a decade.
yeah. So I like to go to Spider-Man Deadpool for my fun Peter Parker.
Nice. Mine is, you can probably guess it, Detective Comics. But I say Detective Comics pre-Rebirth, post-Rebirth, and then Batman pre-Rebirth.
Right.
So the tail end of Scott Snyder's series was phenomenal, and that ended in the beginning of this year, like the end of the Bloom series, all the way up to his last issue, which was number 51.
Oh, that was such a good issue.
Is such just an amazing issue of Batman. So if you were never able to read all of the Scott Snyder stuff, I'm sure there'll be an omnibus at some point of just all Capullo Snyder Batman, and then I'd pick that up. If you haven't read it, it's like it deserves a spot on your bookshelf because it's so amazing.
Well, that's why when I see his name on anything, I'm just like, I want to read this.
It's the only reason I picked up After Death.
Yeah.
I saw Scott Snyder and Lemire. I'm like, oh fuck it, I'll pick that up.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that was a thing because I've been out of it.
Yeah.
So I want to just because I love talking about comic books, I'm going to throw in a new category last minute. See if you
Sure.
have something
Go for it.
this. Old series that you just picked up in 2016.
Ooh. Yes, I actually have one. Fuck. What was it?
I'll go first. For mine, it's got to be either. I mean, Saga I've talked about, but Southern Bastards by Jason Aaron is
So good.
And then Lock and Key I just started reading too, which is also amazing.
Mine would have been. I read Final Crisis this year, the old Grant Morrison, not old, but older Grant Morrison, big DC event. Like, the more I've gotten money and been able to buy all the DC books I want to read, I finally felt like, all right, I can dive back into this. I can give this another shot, and I loved the hell out of it. It was so good.
That sounds good. I wish DC would get on their like subscription service app like Marvel does, because I really want to read all of Batman and Robin by Grant Morrison.
Oh man, that was some good stuff.
I have the first volume and I want to keep going.
Yeah, the single issues are fine. It's when you get to the big events written by Grant Morrison, and it's a lot of like
I see.
Yeah. I have the multiversity over there, and I want to jump into it to see how all the bunny superheroes come into it, but it sounds pretty awesome. So the two things that I did not read for Chewy's, which was best book overall and best comic book art, were a tie for Pretty Deadly.
Oh, okay.
Which she is a huge fan of. I haven't caught up with any of it, but she keeps telling me to, and she says it's absolutely fantastic, and I don't doubt that. I just haven't read it yet. I'm sorry.
Nice.
So moving on to TV. TV, we have the Chicks Who Script, who were kind enough to record something for us, and we're going to take a listen to that right now.
This is Chicks Who Script. My name is Maggie Levin.
I'm Lauren Shacker.
I'm Emily Blake.
And we are going to talk real quick about the year in television, 2016.
Yeah.
Do we
year.
need to talk about, like, how it was for the ladies?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's probably our angle.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Like how many? Yeah, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I started watching TV in 2016.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yes, good job.
What did you watch?
Oh my God. We watched so many things because we watched a lot of Netflix shows, right? So that we just inhaled that I've probably even forgotten came out this year. Like
Jessica
Stranger
Jones,
Things, Jessica Jones.
Oh, yeah.
What other great Netflix shows came out?
Luke Cage.
We watched Luke Cage.
You watched the second
I
season
didn't
of
love it as
Daredevil?
much as I love Jessica Jones. I watched the second season of what?
Daredevil, probably?
We did watch all of Daredevil.
Yeah.
Electra.
Geez, what else?
Yeah.
But we also watched like Pitch. Oh my God.
Pitch is so great.
Is everyone watching Pitch?
If not, you should
If
be
you
watching
haven't
Pitch.
watched it, go back and rewatch all of it because it's great. It's fucking revolutionary. Like
Pitch.
have you tried
God,
it?
you watch Pitch?
No, you gotta
So
watch
good.
it.
My friend
Jeff
is
Torres
on
is
it.
on it.
Yes.
Jason Holtham. Shit.
Oh, yeah, our guest from before.
Oh, he writes on that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Atlanta
Yeah.
is incredible
good.
and like revolutionary. I'm telling you, Pitch is revolutionary, you guys.
Yeah, we need to watch Pitch.
What
I
else?
watched the hell out of Brain Dead, which people do.
I love Brain Dead.
Nico just started watching
Oh,
that
it's
show.
fantastic. It's odd,
Yeah.
but in a way that I deeply love. And then I'm trying to think what else really like. I mean, Mr. Robot had a second season, which was great.
I did not love Mr. Robot's second season.
I didn't
was
either.
obsessed with
the first
season
season.
1.
Yeah.
And then season 2, I was just like, this is a really pensive. The show has become super pensive.
Yeah.
It's very like, look how artsy we are. And
Which was like part of the charm of the first season.
But I felt like the art it felt more part of the storytelling, whereas the second season it felt more like we're just being artsy, yay! And sometimes it worked, and sometimes it felt a little too insistent.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think I watched some odd stuff this
Tell
year,
me.
guys. I don't know. At the end of the year, I binged all of this series called Versailles.
Oh, yeah, I remember
which is
you saying that.
Yeah, it's on Ovation, I think. It's all on Netflix right now, and it's all about the Sun King and the creation of Versailles. I watched a lot of like guilty pleasure type stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like most years. I'm like, have you ever seen this show? And I'm having way more of that happen
Right now.
Yeah.
Have you seen Catastrophe?
No.
I heard things.
So good. Sharon Hogan,
Yeah.
who I didn't realize was such like a writer producer. I've only ever seen her as an actor, but she's written all these incredible.
Oh my god, I'm an idiot. No, last year was the year that I found Outlander.
Outlander's so good.
Outlander is
So feminist.
Television's gift to women. I know
have not
I know
watched
that the
Outlander.
showrunner is male. And one of there are women in that writer's room.
Okay.
It's a very small room. It's a show that is so for the female gaze.
Mm-hmm.
It's glorious. It's like it's the equivalent of it's very different than Magic Mike 2 or
XXL.
Yeah, but it's the same feels. Like everything that happens on that show. For just one quick and lurid example, the first sex act that occurs on that show is a woman getting head. That's the first any kind of sex that happens, and it's very consensual. And you know they contend with, because it takes place a long time ago. They contend with rape situations,
But they did rape from male rape as well. It wasn't just women being victimized.
Very graphic man-on-man rape
Interesting.
that's a little bit hard to deal with at the end of the first season. But the show is remarkable and so well done. And beautiful, and it's on Stars, cool. where they also have Ash vs. Evil Dead, which is also great.
I believe that's where they have Black Sails, which is also got a lot of badass bitches on that show.
I have not watched Black Sails.
I love it. I also love 2 shows this year that are awesome, and I cannot stop talking about The Expanse. I've mentioned it several times on the show. I fucking love The Expanse because it is sci-fi, it's science fiction, it's like this little band of people who happen to find themselves in the middle of all these things between Earth, Mars, and the outer planet, and the Belters. And but it's based in real science. If space travel was a real thing, it's run by Naren Shankar, who ran CSI and has an engineering degree, so they're all very based in real science. But that doesn't stop it from being. It's based on these amazing books, which I'm obsessed with, and it has a really diverse cast because the future is gonna be diverse. Like we're all gonna, if we go out into space, we're all gonna mix together. So like that and my other favorite show, Preacher. Which was amazing this year. They both have 2 just really kick-ass black female leads, and they're both awesome. And I love Preacher because of its bananas nature, and the fight scene where you pull back through a hole in the wall is one of the greatest fight scenes I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, totally. It is hilarious. It is graphic. It is violent. It is just all these things at once that just work so well. So for me, this year was Preacher and The Expanse, and I can't stop talking about either of those shows. That's awesome. I'm obsessed with The Expanse.
And we probably should end at least mentioning I feel like the 2 big television events for this year were very much Stranger Things. That was what everybody was talking about, and it is. I mean, I haven't met anybody that didn't care for it.
I think it's great. I think it's very referential to all of these movies that we've grown up with, loving, right? Which is great. That's fine. It's in a respectful, interesting way.
Yeah. And then the other thing that the most zeitgeisty thing would be Westworld, which I have mixed feelings about. I started out feeling very, this is so cool, like what an amazing mystery they've set up, and then I just think it's sort of like folded in on itself. Yeah. But I'm gonna give it another season because Lisa Joy Nolan is one of my favorite writers on the planet.
I do wish they play a lot with the idea of cowboys and Indians. Yeah. So far, we have not seen any Native American characters other than be an actual character. Right. They're just background. Yeah. And sometimes not very positively portrayed background.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested if they're going to move into these other worlds that they hinted at and all of this other stuff. So we shall see. And there's a lot of argument to be had incessantly about whether or not that show is doing its job in terms of the feminist cause. The note, I definitely didn't love the notion at the end that even the awakening of all of these sort of powerful female characters was ultimately incepted by a dude. Yeah. Didn't love it.
Yeah. I only watched a couple. I did not watch the season.
Yeah. But Thandie Newton kills it.
But she's amazing.
Yeah. And Evan Rachel Wood is amazing. Also and also wore a really bitchin' tux to the Golden Globes.
Awesome.
All right, guys. That was our recap of 2016 television.
If you like how we sound, you can catch us at CWS Podcast on Twitter or chickswhoscript.com.
Yay!
Woo!
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
That was great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, they did a great job.
They did such a good job.
And
I'm really glad we got them on.
I'm just taking notes at this point. What do I need to be watching?
Yeah.
Because I didn't watch any TV. Hardly any.
I did.
I did too. I have answers for this one.
I have one answer for one category in this.
Come on.
Again, I kept this down really low. But John, go first. What is your number one thing?
Well, I don't have a... I mean, the only show I saw 2 shows that I would qualify as 2 shows in 2016 is Stranger Things and Game of Thrones.
Those are shows, yeah.
And Game of Thrones was better than Stranger Things.
Okay, so Game of Thrones.
So Game of Thrones has to be the by default the best one.
So on Game of Thrones, who was your best actor and actress?
Lena Headey
is really good though too. Oh yeah, Lena Headey.
Lena Headey and. I mean, I guess Dinklage. I gave him nothing, and he still made it work.
Yep,
it's true.
Yeah, he's good. Okay, so for my best actress of the year, I have to go with Rachel Bloom for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
That's another show
that would have been
talking
on there,
about, and I have not seen.
If I hadn't seen only 4 episodes recently, not from this year, I would have actually put that on my list.
It's fantastic.
I only watched a few shows this year, one of them being Westworld. So I picked Evan Rachel Wood, who plays Dolores, and she is just so good at that. Like, she fits right into that melodramatic Western character.
Yeah,
and she pulls it off. And then to like go blank faced, and I'm really impressed with all of the people playing the androids or whatever on that show. The way that they can like go blank for the robot moments.
I forget his name, but the guy in that show I think is one who blew me out of the water.
Which guy? What does he play?
Anthony Hopkins' right hand man. Bernard.
Oh, yeah. The guy who plays Bernard. I can't remember his name, but that's what Josh was saying about that too. That's his favorite actor on that show.
So good.
Yeah.
He did not make my best actor of the year list,
Me
which
neither.
was I can't pronounce this poor guy's name. I'm sorry. It's Mahershala Ali. Sure. I'm very sorry. I should have looked up beforehand. But from Luke Cage, where he played Cottonmouth.
Oh yeah, he was really
he
good.
was so. He's my favorite actor of the year, just in general, for both that, Moonlight, Hidden Figures. Like, he had a great year, and he is phenomenal and a completely different character in each and every one of these things.
Oh, an actor.
Yeah, but like we have a lot of those actors who it's still like, oh, I'm gonna watch this guy be that character.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy completely dissolves in each and every one of his roles, and he's amazing. And he's the main reason I watched the entirety of Luke Cage, even though he leaves the show about halfway through. I won't say how or why, but halfway through when he's no longer a thing, it really is not as good as the first half where he is a thing.
Fair enough. I went with Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's one of those guys.
Ooh, yeah.
He is always kind of the character he is, as far as I have seen so far. He's kind of got that high charisma, but he plays Negan on The Walking Dead, and by all accounts, we should absolutely hate Negan to the core, but I can't stop watching Walking Dead because Jeffrey Dean Morgan is just so goddamn charismatic.
I mean, that's the same way for the books. It's like, this guy is fucking horrible, but I love this character. Best episode of a TV show. John, you should be able to answer this one, given what you watched.
The finale to Game of Thrones.
Really, the finale?
Yep. It's mainly the blowing up of the Citadel thing.
So crazy.
It was such it was such a non Game of Thrones moment in terms of its how it was directed, how it was all built. Like the series
felt so Game of Thrones to me.
But I mean, like, it felt so well done compared to the rest of the season. I didn't care for a lot of the lead up between season 5 and 6 up to the end, but this end, I was like, I was able to go back and appreciate the build up in season 6 because of this ending.
Okay.
Because it was like, it put the pieces in place, and after the end of this finale, it's like, there's not much more left of this show.
Yeah.
It's like, we're now finally like, oh, we've gotten through our filler. We've gotten through our couple of years of filler, and now we're just going to end this thing.
Yeah. I wouldn't go with that episode. I'd dial it back one and go to Battle of the Bastards, which is one of the most well-directed things of TV history.
Yeah.
It is one of the most amazing, like, episodes of anything. Like, it was just... The fact that they actually made you believe that Jon Snow was about to die, like, they nailed it of, like, we just got him back. You can't kill him again. It's like, no, he's definitely going to die right now.
Yeah, if best scene was on there, that one scene would be the...
For me, that whole episode is flawless beginning to end. It's like, it's such a great build up to the battle, and then the battle is so good, and then you have the death of Rickon, and like all of it was just like, exactly.
Serpentine.
Yeah. There was so much in that episode that I can go back and watch that one episode from the season and still get total enjoyment from it.
Yeah.
It's a hard one to kind of separate the two episodes because back to back it was just like 1-2 punch.
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
like, wow, I was not expecting this from this season.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Ryan, was either one of those yours, or do you have a different best?
No, I have a different. That was your official pick, the Battle of the Bastards.
Battle of the Bastards, yeah. And that was also Chewy's. I haven't been reading hers. I'll get to her other two in a second.
Do you want to fill in the ones that we've?
Oh, sure. Her best actress was Lena Headey.
Yeah.
And her reason was her stank face is only rivaled by her regret face.
Yeah.
And then
true.
And then she said best actor was Mark Hamill as the trickster because yes,
of course.
And that was a solid choice. He was so good on The Flash.
Yeah, that was really good.
And then her best was Battle of the Bastards.
Oh,
because tension.
For my episode, I actually picked the first of Stranger Things. Battle of the Bastards was
awesome.
Probably a better constructed piece of television, but
that the first episode of Stranger Things, nobody would watch the rest of it.
That's right.
Because it really is not as good as the first episode.
The introduction of 11 and the kids playing Dungeons and Dragons and the Demogorgon and just the soundtrack, I loved.
Yeah, the first episode's so... That's kind of what I felt about Westworld, though, too. The first episode's so great, and the rest of it's good.
I see.
It's just not as good as the kickoff. Which is weird because it used to be the other way around in TV. It's like you have to get through the pilot and then you can enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what Game of Thrones actually did. It's like you kind of have to get through the first most
Season?
of the first of this season.
Yeah.
And then when you get to these last 2 episodes, it was a different show. It was a good one.
So best show overall. I'll read Chewy's first. She went with Sleepy Hollow. Diverse cast, witty writing, and they had the balls to kill a main character. I didn't watch the show. She's been telling me to from the beginning. I've always heard very good
interesting.
things.
I stopped at a certain point because I got kind of tired of certain things that they were doing.
Apparently, the shakeup in 2016 made the show very good again. So
cool.
if you gave up, it's a good time
worth
to
come back. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It's definitely worth to come back from what I hear. Mine was Crazy Ex-Girlfriend because it was the first show in a very long time that made me go, I need all of this in my life.
I've got a blast from the past from early 2016. Better Call Saul.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, still living up to the Breaking Bad hype that was probably one of my favorite TV shows of all time. So Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould back at it with Better Call Saul. Bob Odenkirk plays just the best shitty lawyer I've ever seen on TV.
I still haven't watched a single episode. I know I should because I was obsessed with Breaking Bad.
I had such a huge fear that I'm like, what are they going to do with Saul Goodman? It's like going to be this campy crap about him, and who cares? But
right.
They nailed it.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I have a feeling at some point, but who knows when. Okay, so on to the last part of today. Well, we do have one final goodbye question, but the last major part of today, which is movies. And for movies, we have the lovely people over at Front Row Movie Podcast who recorded something for us.
Oh, those guys.
Craigie Poo. So here we go.
Hello, all you After the Hype fans. This is Craig and Jeremy from the Front Row Movie Reviews podcast, the podcast for people who actually like movies. And we would like to say a big thank you to all the crew over at After the Hype, Brian, Chewy, Ryan, and Jonathan for asking us to record a quick snippet about the 2016 movies that we really dug. Couple of disclaimers. First, we know that this was a good year for movies, so it's going to be tough to talk about all of them, especially since Brian gave us a 5 to 10 minute time limit. We're going to try our damnedest to keep to that 5 to 10 minutes. And then our second disclaimer is also that we live here in the Midwest, and sometimes it takes a while for you Hollywood types to get us our movies.
Yeah.
So
send us our screeners faster.
We have not quite seen necessarily all of the Oscar movies out there, but this is just our opinions for some of the best movies that happened in 2016. We're going to do our top threes, and I think we only have one repeat on both of our lists. So we're going to start with our number 3 movie. I'll go to Jeremy first.
Yeah, so we, top 3, but we cheated, obviously, both of us, because as he said, it was a ridiculous year for quality of movies. So, and these aren't necessarily what we think are going to win the Oscars or anything. These are our favorite movies of the year. So, number 3, I had
lots of stipulations on the Front Row Movie Reviews.
I had a tie for number 3, as did you, because we got to cheat. So, my number 3 tie, the first one is Don't Breathe. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, it came out in the summer, so you really got no excuse. But this is one of the best examples of suspenseful filmmaking that I've ever seen. It's labeled as a horror film, but it really kind of isn't. It's really just kind of more of a suspense thriller with a lot of horrific elements in it. But it's led by an amazing, and I think Oscar-worthy performance from Stephen Lang as the main villain. But the director, Fede Alvarez, just went so far to make an amazing film with a lot of suspense. You will be on the edge of your seat the whole time, and the surprises that come are very well earned. My other number 3 is Mel Gibson's Hacksaw Ridge. Now, I know that there's a lot of controversy that always surrounds Mel Gibson now at this point in his career, but I've always maintained that through it all, he is one of the best filmmakers in Hollywood, and he has been for a long time. And this movie really kind of announced his reemergence in that realm. This is action and war filmmaking at literally its best I've seen since Saving Private Ryan. The action scenes are so bloody and intense and really shocking, but the lead performance by Andrew Garfield, he will get nominated for an Oscar for it. I don't know if he'll win, in, but it is an amazing, amazing performance that is happening here. And the movie just works on so many levels as an allegory, as a war film. It's just really, really great. So those are my two for number 3.
All right, so my 2 for number 3, I guess maybe one's an honorable mention.
Right.
I don't know. I love Sing Street. I love it. Coming from a guy that loves Once and loves musicals and loves ensemble movies, Sing Street is fantastic. And I know that After the Hype has an episode about it, so go back and check out their episode. It's on Netflix right now. Actually, a lot of these movies are already making their way to Netflix a lot sooner than maybe they had in the past. But Sing Street is my first number 3. And then my second number 3 is actually, it's a masterclass in acting. I got to see Fences recently with Denzel Washington, directed by Denzel Washington and starring Viola Davis as well. And just the way that they adapted August Wilson's play into a movie with a very limited set, and just the amount of character and everything that went into that movie is just absolutely beautiful, and they really just took it from the stage where they both were doing the performances, both Tony-winning performances in Fences,
both him and Viola,
a couple of years ago, and adapted to the screen perfectly, and especially in this time, in this day and age, with what we've got going on in our country, to talk a little bit more about black culture and to see some of the struggles that were faced in this inner city Pittsburgh area. Just really interesting story of family and kind of a story of redemption as well. And I absolutely loved Fences. So those are my 2 number 3s, Sing Street and Fences.
And just real quick, if you have not seen Sing Street, see this movie. I mean, it's a musical, sure, but it's just an amazing film, and the music is wonderful.
The soundtrack's amazing.
It is such an infectiously awesome movie. Like, you will fall in love with this film.
We are at 5 minutes, and we've got a lot of movies to talk about. Our number 2, though, we've got
number 2.
I have a joint number 2. So we loved, and we will continue to love forever, Captain America: Civil War. Jeremy, what more to say about this movie?
I mean, you take all the characters that we've already known, and you kind of give us a preview to Infinity War. You put all of these people in the same film, and it somehow works. I mean, like all of them get enough screen time to make an impression and to make us remember why we love these characters. And then you also have one of the best action sequences ever put on film with the airport fight scene. The fact that this film works at all, but it's the raw emotional intrigue between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers that really works in this movie, and it makes it, I think, definitely one of the top 3, if not the top comic book movie of all time.
Yeah, I mean, the Russos did such a fantastic job with this film. Such a great follow-up. It was a great end to the Captain America trilogy, because yes, it does involve all this ensemble cast, but I still do feel at my heart that this is a Captain America movie, and I get that I'm a Captain America fanboy as well. But there's so much to be said about this movie. We actually did a big full disclosure about this way back when it came out in May. I do not want to disparage any other films in 2016, but it was awesome to see a collection of superheroes work in a movie. And I can't wait to see what we got coming forward from us.
It just brought it to a dramatic high. We've had great drama moments in the MCU, but like this one worked so well because we love these two characters so much, and then the action and the rest of the side characters in this movie, at least, like, just totally work. Everything in this movie works.
Absolutely. And thanks to the Disney deal with Netflix, it is on Netflix already, so go check out Captain America: Civil War. Watch that airport scene when you wake up in the morning, when you brush your teeth at night. It's the best thing
It'll get you going.
In the history of ever. I am going to go first with my number 1 pick, because I haven't seen Jeremy's number 1 pick, and I think that it's going to be high on my list after I get to see it finally this weekend. My number 1 is actually a Disney movie. For those of you that don't know our podcast, I'm kind of the Disney guy on our podcast. Really enjoy everything they put out. I loved Jon Favreau's The Jungle Book, and I know that some people over at After the Hype, Brian, maybe didn't quite think it was the visual masterpiece that I do. But I really do enjoy this movie. I think it shows a lot about the future of film, and how everything was so built and so lifelike on a soundstage. I usually like the practical effects, practical movies, but this was something that I will forever ever enjoy, and also available on Netflix to go check out. But just an amazing movie. Jon Favreau did such a great job of not only introducing us to Iron Man, but also now to Mowgli. And I can't wait to see what he's going to do in the future with Lion King. And I get that this is a kind of an untraditional pick for my favorite movie, but hell, it's my opinion, so get over it.
Yeah, that's right. It is great. It came out in April?
Yeah, it came out in April.
Like, so a long time back, but I think it's got a lot of technical Oscars coming to it come February. My pick for the top film of the year, and it's a popular one right now after the Golden Globes, but it's La La Land. And I'm telling you right now, we are musical freaks here at the front row. Most of us are. We do musicals. We love musicals. This is a film, though, that does not need that requirement because it's just an infectious love story. And it harkens back to the musicals of old, like Singing in the Rain and The Bandwagon and American in Paris, all the great ones of all time. But it sucks you in with the performances. I don't know if there's been a better modern film chemistry than there is between Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone in this movie. And, nothing they do in the movie, at least Emma Stone, I think, is way more impressive in this movie. But Gosling has a nice quiet determinism in him, but the songs in this movie are great. The opening sequence alone, it's all one shot on a freeway, and everybody's dancing out of their cars in a traffic jam. And that sounds weird, but it is literally leaves you with the biggest grin on your face, and you cannot help it. This is going to win so many Oscars, and deservedly so. The director, Damien Chazelle, and the writer, he deserves a lot of credit here. This is a musical masterpiece, and it's going to go down in history as one.
I can't wait to see it. And so that's kind of our wrap up. We're going to do some quick plugs because Jeremy took forever to talk about La La Land.
What?
So you can find us at thefrontrowmoviereviews.com. We also host shows, classics. We dive into film classics and with our film historian, Brandon Davis. We also have Beyond the Mouse, which is my Disney podcast. We do full disclosures of new movies. We talk about flashbacks of films of the 80s and 90s hosted by my brother Scott. We also have what other shows do we have? We've got other ones out there.
We got Dishes where we talk about
our favorite movies.
Favorite movies of all time. That's not the regular crew. We have Front Row News to get you caught up on everything that's happening, and of course we do video reviews. We do everything over at the Front Row. We try to get you everything you need to know.
Absolutely. So go check us out at thefrontrowmoviereviews.com. Again, thank you to Brian and the rest of the crew over at After the Hype. Keep up the good work. It's phenomenal stuff that you're doing. I can't believe some of the guests that you've gotten, and just keep rocking on, dude.
That's right.
And I hope that everyone else has a wonderful day, and we will see you in the front row.
Bye.
Okay, thank you very much to Craig and Jeremy from Front Row, and to everybody else who's always on your shows. You guys always have fun stuff. Thank you for insulting me because of my distaste for Jungle Book. I didn't hate. I just didn't really like it that much.
I want to insult them for their taste of Civil War.
Yeah, oh my God, I could do the rest of this thing. We could just skip all of our picks and go, while you're wrong about Civil War. How do you talk about Civil War and not Deadpool? Like, there was one great comic book movie this year, and then one, and like they went for the
five.
Well, there was also the masterpiece of cinema that was Batman vs. Superman, but we can talk about that later.
Oh, good Lord.
It actually made my list.
It's on mine too.
It made one of the things on my list, and you'll probably know what it is.
Okay, so we're going to go through our list here. We're going to start with Chewie, and we're going from the bottom of our list to the top for the people around the table. So we're going to start with Best Special Effects, and Chewie went with Rogue One. I went with Fantastic Beasts.
Me too.
Wait. That didn't sound like me. I went with Rogue One. Chewie went with Fantastic Beasts. I was like, wait, what? Why did I pick Fantastic Beasts? I didn't
really
like that.
Oh, I picked Fantastic Beasts.
Chewie picks Fantastic Beasts because she wants to cuddle with all the animals.
I don't want to cuddle. I just want to look at them through 3D goggles.
It was a unbelievably well designed film. Like, the beasts look great. They look exactly like I want them to look like when they talk about in the books.
Yeah.
The Niffler was awesome.
Yep.
Like, so good. John?
So out of the movies I saw, I didn't see the ones you mentioned.
Of course.
So I'm going to use Warcraft because of the non-human elements. They were so good. And
you didn't pick Rogue One for the non-human elements?
Like Tarkin and
Tarkin and Leia.
It was weird.
I think that's why I put it on Rogue One. I did this all yesterday while I was watching other movies, so I don't really remember my reasoning behind it, but I know I like the special effects in Rogue One.
Yeah. No, Rogue One was fine, but like there was a couple moments where I was like, I had to get into I had to suspend my disbelief again. Yeah. I had to go back and resuspend it.
Go back into the BIOS and resuspend my disbelief.
Right, and so
restart in safe mode.
It's a matter of degrees. I had to do that twice for Rogue One and maybe only once for Warcraft.
Fair enough.
But like
Fair
the
enough.
things that weren't human elements in Warcraft were unrivaled, I felt.
Okay.
Cool. I want to throw in something here that
Yep.
is not digital special effects, but practical special effects.
Ooh.
Green Room.
Yeah. Great.
Oh my God, they were so good.
I think I'd probably go Green Room as well.
Yeah.
The effects in that movie are fantastic. Okay, so then we're going to go with best costumes. Chewie went Batman vs. Superman. Hashtag #DatBatass.
All right. Fair enough.
I gave the guy a shout out. It's Michael Wilkinson from Batman vs Superman, but I kept the same thing because I love, and I'll explain it really, really quickly. Marvel does a great job of making realistic looking superheroes. They take these comic book things and shift them into a real world, and it looks great.
Yep.
I'm not saying it doesn't. Michael Wilkinson took the DC comic book heroes and then went, we want them to look like DC comic book heroes, and stuck to it. So you have them looking like the comics, and that's what I wanted to see, and I really loved seeing it.
Fair enough. I went with Rogue One for the same reasons because it looked
So
like
good.
Star Wars.
It really does look
Yeah.
like Star Wars.
I don't know how intentional it was, but they gave Captain, what's his name? Andean?
I already forgot.
Literally the main character, Diego Luna. But they gave him a coat that looks exactly like what people thought Han Solo's coat looked like in The Empire Strikes Back. Because there was toys that came out with that mispainted blue.
Cassian Andor?
Cassian Andor. That's his name.
there we go. I still got it.
Andean Castor.
Calrissian.
And, so yeah, he's got the Easter egg Han Solo jacket on. I mean, Felicity Jones was great. The way they dealt with the new like Jedi types was fun.
Yeah.
And the guy had like some new hybrid version of Mandalorian armor. They made new stormtroopers that looked cool. All of it.
Yeah. Can't argue with any of that. John, do you have a best costume?
The Nice Guys, actually.
Yeah,
Out of the movies I saw, I really liked how they captured the time period.
The only reason why Nice Guys didn't make my list was when we did our episode, the girl did such a good job discrediting the costumes.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, oh, I really like these. And she's like, I did too, but they just stuck too close to their palettes and they didn't really go too far with it. It's like, oh.
I really like those palettes.
Yeah. Okay, so moving up the list, we're going to go into best screenplay. Best screenplay. Who wants to go first?
Did you skip sound? You coming?
Oh, I did skip sound. Let's go with best sound.
I went with Doctor Strange for that one. I was curious to see how they were going to bring the mystical, magical elements to the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And they did a great job in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, absolutely. I went with The Arrival.
Oh, yeah.
So
good
much.
choice.
Yeah, it's just so much based on sound and language and everything
Yep.
that it felt like the best option for me. Chewie went with The Witch, and I can't really argue with that one either.
That's a good one. Not at all.
I went with Hush.
Hush.
It deals with a deaf protagonist,
Oh,
and
interesting.
it plays with the sound. And I mean,
Is that still streaming? I feel like it was on Netflix for a long
It
time.
may
Or
be.
maybe Hulu.
it was on Netflix. That's where I saw it. But
Okay.
It might not still be. I don't know. But I really enjoyed the movie, and its use of its playfulness with sound in the horror genre was fun.
Fair enough. Okay, so now back to best screenplay. I went with Eric Cassier for The Arrival because
Nice.
the entire movie's about language, so you'd have to have a pretty solid screenplay.
Fair enough. I went with Taylor Sheridan for Hell or High Water.
That's a very solid screenplay.
Very good. I have all the names from here on out. I didn't look up the sound guy.
Yeah, I should have
Strange,
most
sorry.
of them. I kind of missed on them. Chewie did hers really quick, so she doesn't have any of them. She went with Green Room, though. It's another solid screenplay.
Absolutely.
A lot of fun.
Yeah,
Nice.
I had that in first and erased it for
Yep.
Hell or High Water.
Nice Guys for me. It's up my alley, screenplay wise.
So the next one we did is cinematography, right?
Cinematography.
Cinematography. Ryan, who'd you have for cinematography?
This is the I have a 3 for here.
Ooh.
Hell or High Water again.
Yep.
Giles Nutkin. I don't know. Cinematography was fan-fucking-tastic.
Yep.
We talked about that just last week.
Mine, I cannot pronounce their name, as you will catch throughout a lot of the rest of these.
why I didn't try.
Mine is Chung Hoon Chung from The Handmaiden,
Okay.
which is the best shot film of possibly this decade, even though we're only about halfway through it.
I
Nice.
missed that one. So
So unbelievably good.
Guess he's the one to beat.
Yep.
For me, it was the Hell or High Water.
yeah, there you go.
Chewie also went Hell or High Water.
Yep.
Which it's tough to argue with that one. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So best production design.
The third for Hell or High Water here, Tom Duffield.
Okay. Chewie went with Rogue One.
Okay.
Again,
Not bad.
kind of. I think it's kind of the same thing you said. It felt like Star Wars.
Yeah,
it felt and looked like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Mine is Seong-Hai Ryu from The Handmaiden. I'm sure I butchered the shit out of that name, and I apologize.
Well, they're super pissed now.
Yep.
Hell or High Water for me.
Again, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very well made. It's funny how good that movie is, but it didn't feel like a best of until you start going through it, and it's like, well, I mean, it really did do the best.
Well, it's like
a lot of things.
You know, if you watch the Oscars every year, you will notice that consistently there's movies that get picked for directors and actors, and then there's another set of like 5 or 6 movies that clean up in the technical awards.
Yeah, I could see that.
Sound, editing, visual effects, special effects, costumes, makeup, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into the big heavy hitters, we're going to do one more fun one, which is best sequel or remake. Ryan, what'd you have?
This is where I brought in the Jungle Book.
Okay.
I didn't even think about Rogue One because it's a standalone story, Brian.
Sure it is.
Spoilers.
There's gonna be no sequel. But Jungle Book did a pretty good job of bringing a classic to the big screen.
Fair enough. John, what'd you have?
Rogue One.
Chewie went Fantastic Beasts, which I didn't put it that high up on my list, but I know she had a fucking blast with it. We saw it twice. I thought it was a really good movie.
It's so nice you saw it twice.
Yeah.
Technically not a sequel or a remake.
It's kind of well, neither is Rogue One, but that's on
what
my
I'm
list.
saying. That's why I win this round. Are you keeping score? I'm like 10 points ahead.
Well, either way, I go with Rogue One, as does John. So the only one who has a legit sequel or remake is Ryan with Jungle Book. The rest of us are just not fans of sequels and remakes, I guess.
To be honest with you, when this came up and I looked down the list of movies, it seems like we're actually coming out of the funk of sequels and remakes.
I think we kind of are, with the exception of the comic book world.
Yeah.
I think we kind of are.
Yeah, with the exception of the franchise films. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I was really tempted to put Batman vs Superman, but that one didn't qualify as a sequel or remake to me, even though it kind of is a sequel to Man of Steel.
And kind of a remake of Nolan's Batman
Yeah,
movies.
it's kind of that, but it's that one felt a little too much of a stretch for me, but I was fine with Rogue One for some reason. Okay, so moving into the best actor, actress, and director, and then we have one more question before we get into best films. So best actress, Chewie had down Amy Adams because she deserves it.
I almost went with Amy Adams, except this truthfully wasn't her best performance. I mean, you're talking about for Batman versus Superman?
I mean, she was good in that movie, that's all I'm saying. But this was Chewie's choice, and she did not. I asked her for which movie. I'm like, just say which movie. And she went, because she deserves it. Well, okay.
So
then.
it was for Batman versus Superman.
It could have been Batman vs Superman. It could have been Nocturnal Animals, which she hasn't seen. Or it could have been The Arrival. But it could have been any one of those, or just the collection of all of them, giving her the best.
I can agree with that assessment.
Yeah. John, what do you have?
I had, let me see if I can actually get this name pronounced. Oh, God.
It's Felicity Jones. It's not that hard.
Auli Cravalho from Moana. As a first-time actress, nailed it with her role. In both singing and acting. And it's like, singing is hard.
Yeah.
As someone who cannot sing, I know this.
Yeah.
And it's just to go from not acting to acting and do such a good job in like just the hardest medium, like voice.
Yeah.
Is for me amazing. So I liked what she did.
I went for a similar choice because it's her first feature role. She'd done a few short films, but this is her first feature role, and it's Tyree Kim as Suk-hee in The Handmaiden.
Nice.
I should have seen that movie. You picked it a lot.
I did. It is one of the best movies of the year. It is near flawless filmmaking in every way, shape, and form. But it did not get my director or best film. But it is one of those ones that it does everything else so perfect. You have to see it. And this girl is phenomenal. Like, you are with her every step of the way, and like there's so many twists and turns, and you feel them all with her. It's great. So great.
This one was actually hard for me. There were no standouts like Ex Machina was a couple years ago or last year for that. But I went with Anya Taylor-Joy for The Witch.
Oh, she's really good in that. She's the main reason I want to see Split. Like, I'm going against my greater like avoid M. Night Shyamalan at all costs. Like, but she's in it, and she's really good.
I've seen a lot of people who are like avoid M. Night Shyamalan and being like, yes, see this movie.
I've heard that,
and then they won't say anything more. I'm like, oh, really? Interesting.
It is the first positive reviewed film he's had in over a decade.
Wow.
Okay, so best actor. I'll go first. I have Ryan Gosling for a mix of Nice Guys and La La Land.
Okay.
Because in the same year, doing both of those starkly different roles is always very impressive, and he did a great job with both of them.
Yeah, and he also had to do singing, which,
Yeah.
again, not very easy.
And he's not very good at, but he tried, damn it.
Yeah, and he didn't do too bad. Like,
no, he did fine. He was not Russell Crowe in Les Mis.
or
where it's
Johnny
just
Depp
like,
in anything.
yeah, like he was, compared to the other actors, like, I'm not really a singer. He did great. Because the other times this has happened, it's like, oh, God. You could have found someone else.
And he has a great tune to sing. Like, they gave him
Yeah.
a good tune, a good haunting tune to
Yeah, it's
sing
a very
to.
good thing. It's not a lot of range, so
Right.
he doesn't really have to stretch too much. It worked out well for him.
Yeah.
What'd you have?
For me, in the same way that Chewie had for, like, just in general, I'm going to do for Ben Foster.
No shit. That's
Yeah.
what Chewie put down too.
Yeah. Because he was both in Warcraft, a very phone-it-in movie, and then, Hell or High Water, and the fact that he just gave his all for both of them. I don't know, like, A for effort on his part.
It's exactly what Chewie put down. She said because he made two memorable performances that next to each other make no sense.
That's great. I have two answers for this. The actual, probably the best actor this year would probably go to Jeff Bridges or maybe Anton Yelchin for Hell or High Water, Green Room. They were both really great performances in really great movies, but the hardest working actor of 2016 was definitely Will Smith, because he carried all of Suicide Squad on his shoulders by himself.
Yeah. I'm just happy the Suicide Squad made somebody's list. I'm tearing up over here. Even I know it's shit, but I still like it.
Oh, it's Will Smith, though, man.
He's really good at it. So is Viola Davis. And the whole cast. It's just a great movie, right? Right? No?
Sure.
Shit. Oh, boy. All right, so Best Director. I'm going to let Chewie go first on this one because she had the most emotional response to Best Director. She went with Gareth Edwards because he made her cry for non-mushy reasons.
Yeah.
She took so much away from Rogue One. I loved Rogue One. I wish I could love it as much as she did because that movie just meant the world to her, and Gareth Edwards gave it to her on a silver platter. It is very, very well done. I went with Barry Jenkins from Moonlight because that movie is phenomenal, and if it had even the wrong moment directed, even the best moment, like there was no room for slack in that movie. Like it is all just like a tightrope walk of like acting, performance, and scene and everything, and you need someone who can handle all of that and make it work in a way that's not. It's not a message movie about like coming out. It's not like about gang wars. It's just about one guy and his life, and you nailed it. It's like the most impressive work of a director I've seen in a very, very long time.
I could give it to Gareth Edwards for like a visionary sense of the director, because he definitely took all of the right ideas from what we loved about A New Hope and brought it to this Star Wars remake or story, whatever. But as his performances just kind of felt a little flat to me, and it may have been intentional that they were going for a little more fantasy reading, like in A New Hope. George Lucas was kind of a young director at the time as well.
I would agree, but you look back at his other films, and that's kind of a common thread from Monsters to Godzilla.
Yeah.
He kind of has that. He's really good with big ideas,
Yeah.
but getting the character performances, he's not quite there yet. I think he will, though. He's a very entertaining director to watch.
I agree. So I went with Robert Eggers for The Witch.
Solid choice.
Yeah.
That was my number 2. I
Yeah.
was almost there, and then number 3 was The Handmaiden. Go figure.
Oh, my number 2 was going to be The Green Room.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fucking great movie this
Yeah.
year. John, what do you have for Best Director?
So I've been waffling back and forth on it for a little while, but I'm going to ultimately go with Damien Chazelle for
Nice.
La La Land.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
because of, I know La La Land's fairly similar to Whiplash, but both those movies know the genre they're playing in and really have a handle of the format and how it translates to film. And so this like, with this as his like second movie being as skillful as it is, like it's a lot of work doing a musical, and a musical that's so amorphous as La La Land.
Yeah.
It was not an easy task. And his sense of music is a benefit to film.
Yeah. It's he's one of those guys who's very, very exciting to watch, kind of like Gareth Edwards. And
so and it's a tough one because I also very much appreciate Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
And all those, like, so there was some top.
Yeah.
This one was hard for me.
Yeah.
Actually.
All right, so before we get to Best Film, I'm going to ask these 2 questions. What's the 2016 movie that you missed that you really wish you hadn't? Chewie's... I could not disagree with her more in this one. I am so fine with missing this movie. Shoot it with Tarzan.
Oh.
I was so okay missing that movie.
Yeah, me
Part
too.
of the reason she missed it was because I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So I apologize to Chewie for her missing that thing.
Handmaidens is going on my list because it got so many of your awards, but I wrote down Moonlight.
Okay. Yeah. Moonlight, both phenomenal movies. I went with A Monster Calls because I heard that it was absolutely great, even though a lot of people told me I should not see it because it's all about losing a parent. And I was like, well, I think I could still see it, though. It looks like a really great movie, and I heard it's phenomenal.
So it's out? Wow. Okay.
It came out. It was like one of those movies that came out in like 2 theaters at the end of the year, so it could still be up for Oscars.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but you can. It's still in theaters now. You can.
So I saw a Facebook ad for it the other day, and I was like, wait, this is a movie? So, you guys got to get working on that advertising. For me, this is because usually when I'm not watching movies for the podcast or if I miss out, I'm trying to catch up.
Right.
And all that. So I got another one of these kind of like shame ones. And for me, being a fan of Totally Rad Show back in the day, I can't believe I missed 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Mm-hmm. Have you still not seen it? You're on
I've
that
still
episode.
not seen it. Like I have the DVD. Like it's ready to go. And until when I finish dealing with a certain other personal problem with apartments, I'm catching up. But
yeah, you literally.
But
missed
I also
my
missed
two of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
I missed it also in the theater, which I was going to try to get to. But as a parent, that's actually tough too. So I've missed it twice for just out of reasons. And I'm like, man, sorry, Dan.
Okay, so what's the 2016 movie that you saw that you went, fuck, why'd I watch that? Chewie and I tie on this one. We both put down Sausage Party because fuck that movie.
Okay,
I missed that one,
interesting.
and I'm okay with that.
Oh, it's fucking garbage.
I actually wrote down Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
But
you're both kicked off this podcast.
I'm changing my mind at the last second because there was a movie that I saw and I hated it so much I actually blocked it out of my memory, and that was Warcraft. I still remember Batman versus Superman, and I actually saw it twice, so I enjoyed it enough to watch it a second time.
Yeah, I saw it
for
twice.
some scenes, but Warcraft paid off in 0 ways for me. I didn't enjoy the action. I didn't.
There was
enjoy
a
the
sheep in
action. Oh, I did like the sheep, and I like the Murloc gurgle. So there's a couple of things.
Yeah.
And John, yours was also Batman vs Superman?
Yep.
Yeah, you're fired.
There goes the website.
Shit, you're rehired.
No,
okay.
be serious. I would never do that. I have a code. It's HTML, CSS.
Yeah, you've got a lot of lines of code, don't you?
I assume there's more than one. At least I hope. Okay, so we're going to go for Best Film of 2016. Mine did not get a single award on the entire list of mine, but it is still what I think is the best movie of the year because I've watched it the most. Sing Street. Because fuck, that movie's great.
Yeah, you've been singing that praises since you saw it in the theater.
Oh, I love the hell out of it. It's so good. It doesn't. I don't think any of the working parts are the best of the year.
Right.
But it came together the best for the end product. Chewie's was Hell or High Water. John,
Nice guys.
nice guys, solid choice.
Again, just it's my cup of tea in terms of humor, action, and Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. So Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe both going against type in comedic roles. Fucking great to watch.
I mean, we haven't talked about the is it Shane Black? Is that his name?
Yeah, Shane Black.
The mastermind. I mean, he's always does a great job.
Yeah, it's rare to watch one of his movies and go, eh.
Yeah.
Like even Iron Man 3, I still like for these Shane Black moments.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think it's the best Marvel movie, but
No.
like the Shane Blackiness of it, fucking great.
Yeah. So I have really up in the air about my best film. I have so many good options. There was one movie, the one movie that came out in 2016 that I will watch over and over again, and it will always be a great time. And it was like a breath of fresh air in the genre. Is Deadpool.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it is kind of a superhero movie for kids. So the other movie
For kids.
Yeah, for kids.
Interesting.
Trust me. Trust me. They tell you not to bring your kids, but it's for 13-year-olds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't mean
when you
little
say
kids.
kids, I imagine like kids.
Teenagers. No,
Yeah. Okay.
it's for
definitely.
teenagers.
Absolutely.
But I walked out of the green room and just went, oh my God, what a fantastic piece of filmmaking. And I loved everything about it. All the actors, writing, directing, cinematography, green room.
I think Green Room would be my number 2.
Yeah.
I was really. It's one of those movies where I don't know why it doesn't hit the number 1 spot for me. I honestly don't have a good answer because when I watch that movie, it's like this is everything I want in a movie.
Yep.
So unbelievably well done.
They should show that at film school.
Yeah.
Well, that's why people shouldn't get what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then it will never reach number 1 on anyone's list.
Right. There's so few things in that movie that don't work. Like it's next to nothing. That movie is damn near flawless. Fucking great. Okay, so as our final goodbye question, you're going to have to stick around for the answer to this thing because I'm going to do our plugs before it. It's going to be the 2017 movie that we are the most excited for.
I've got an interesting answer. You should stick around.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's expecting mine. So still stick around. So our website, athpod.com. You can find us there. You can also find us on Twitter at @ATH_podcast. You can find us pretty much everywhere else online at ATH Podcast. You can email us at athpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Facebook. Rate and review us on iTunes, which would be great.
You did. I wanted to talk about something you put on the list to send out. The best thing about 2016 that wasn't on the list.
Oh, that was going to be my final goodbye question.
We can do both.
We'll do both. Okay, yeah. So if you stuck around this long, you get 2 questions for the price of 1. How do you like that? Okay, so what's the 2017 movie that you're most looking forward to?
For me, now, you would expect me to say Spider-Man Homecoming because I'm loving Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He's my favorite comic book
That's
character.
exactly what I expect you to answer.
You would expect me to say Episode 8 of Star Wars.
I did not expect that because I don't know. I just did not expect that one.
Because you forgot it was coming out in December.
Yep.
Probably.
No, I remembered.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Because I've been waiting 30 years to see what happens to Luke Skywalker after Return of the Jedi. And I thought I was going to get it with Force Awakens. Guess not.
No, fuck you
So
is what
more
you got.
Luke Skywalker in Episode 8. But both of those films have a serious chance of disappointing me in some way or another. So there is one movie coming out in 2017 that I am so hyped for, and I know that it will deliver only everything I want out of it, and that is Lego Batman.
I could not disagree with you more. I could go on my nerd rant of why I don't want to see that movie, but I won't. My 2017 movie that I am the most excited for, it's a sequel, long coming, and I could not be it's more important to me than any other movie coming out this year, and I could not be more thrilled.
Power Rangers.
Trainspotting 2.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, that'll be good.
Chewie's is Kong, and she said because that poster.
All right.
It looks fun.
I think Kong looks like a blast.
Sure.
I don't think it'd be my number 1, but yeah, I'm totally excited to see it. John?
I like weird sci-fi that might not pan out to anything. So Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
Nice. Oh, that looks so good.
too.
Yeah.
And Luc Besson going back to sci-fi. Hooray!
Life actually looks good, really.
Yeah,
really
Life looks good,
too.
yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal, yeah.
Okay, so then for our absolute goodbye to 2016, get the fuck out. Woo! What is the number 1 thing that we did not talk about today? I'll let Chewie go first. She said the villain Zoom on Flash because he was a great, evil, super scary villain with a great ass. Mine, I'll go really quick. Mine was a podcast that I've been listening to that started in 2016, and it is absolutely phenomenal and weird and out there and quirky and just the best thing you can listen to if you like podcasts at all, which if you listen to this, I assume you do. It's the Orbiting Human Circus.
All right.
And it's so good.
Put that on my list.
John?
Cool. For me, it's a podcast I started listening to. It used to be called Vice's New Gaming Podcast, but they turned into Waypoint Radio, and they're 2 times a week, and I really like the games discussions and video games criticism that they do.
Cool.
They do some really great stuff on their website too, so
check them out.
Yeah.
Cool.
John, so my best thing
call you John.
Yeah, my best thing of 2016 overall, that rain delay. Game 7 of the World Series. After the 9th inning, scores tied, Cubs Indians. There's a rain delay, and the Cubs have a rally in the clubhouse and come back and win the World Series for the first time in 108 years?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
That was a good moment. Yeah.
That was solid. That was solid, non-scripted TV.
Yeah.
Made you go, is this scripted?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so again, thank you to everybody for listening, for joining us throughout 2016. Look forward to, we already have a couple episodes out about 2017, and then we have more coming up. Next week is Don't Breathe, right?
Yep, Don't Breathe.
Very excited for Don't Breathe. I fucking love that.
And then we'll come back and re-edit my parts of the podcast.
Yeah.
Watch out for our blog posts.
Yes, and that's you should have already seen 4 of them come up if you've been following our Facebook. We've had our best of list coming out, and then we have more coming out, and we're going to have some guest writers on that we're very excited about. Jeff Ott, we're going to have at some point, I hope.
Lots of hope.
Lots of hope. A new hope, if you will. Okay, bye!
Bye.